Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out with Adam Moralee. Hi, how you doing? Part of the management team, of course, for Joe Joyce, who's just signed a co-promotional agreement with Frank Warren, obviously still also promoted by Ringstar Sports. Just tell us why this is the right move for Joe Joyce at this stage in his career.
So Joe started off with David and Richard together, and that was kind of the best of both worlds. UK David, terrestrial, US Richard. And then it came to a point where David and Richard parted ways, so Joe had to choose to be with one of them, and he chose to be with Richard because he wanted to get bigger in the States. So I think the period kind of August, 6 months of that to February, Joe got bigger and bigger in the States. And then Sam and I and Joe thought to ourselves, we do need a more solid partner in the UK. Richard owned his worldwide rights. Richard had got him mandatory for the WBA, for the EBU, British title. So we decided at that point to talk to people. We talked to Frank Warren, and I think he's the best person we could have gone to right now for what we're looking for.
Who else did you talk to?
Well, a lot of people talk to us actually, but what happens in boxing is a very, very small world. So when people hear you're talking, and of course people were talking to, people have got to talk to Richard Schaefer, and I always made that clear. I don't own Joe's promotional rights. You need to talk to Richard, and Richard's smart enough, wise enough to know that partnering with someone in the UK is a good idea. So we had interest from America, we had other interest from the UK. People are interested in Joe, but this was the right one. And as I said in the press conference, with Fury and Joshua overseas, boxing overseas, I think for quite a long time, I think Joe has a great opportunity to become the UK's heavyweight that boxes most regularly in the UK.
So twofold question then. Were Matchroom one of the other interested UK parties? And if so, what was the kind of distinction between their offer and Frank's? Why did you choose Frank?
So I can't talk about specifics about who did anything. They may or may not have done anything. Why we went with Frank was the backing of BT was important. BT are huge, and I think it's all about timing. We've come at a time where BT have Dubois, they have Gorman, obviously they've still got Tyson, but Tyson's in America. So I think BT want to back someone like this. So that was big for us. And secondly, because we spoke in detail, Richard and Frank spoke in detail with us about the kind of fights we want to make, and they want to invest in Joe. And that's the big issue. For any promoter taking on Joe Joyce, you might think he's going to make you a lot of money. You're going to have to invest in him, because even not very good fighters want £1 million to fight Joe Joyce.
Is it likely now that Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois are part of the same stable or promotional stable that fight may not happen this year?
Look, I think it could well happen. I think they are you're right, they are part of the same promotional stable. You heard what Frank said about James DeGale and George Groves. Both of them have different agendas. Joe wants the fight. Joe's delighted to take the fight at any time. I think Dubois wants the fight, and I'm certain the fight will happen. When it will happen, I don't know, but I'm certain it will happen.
Joyce obviously so far hasn't been built up as a huge TV attraction in the UK. He was on terrestrial to start with, but then there's been a long period when he's been kind of out of sight, out of mind to an extent. So to make that match now would seem business-wise maybe not the right move.
Yeah, look, I see the force in that. I think if you let it simmer for longer, it might get bigger. But by the same token, Joe beats Dubois now, and it's more of a statement. And you kind of fast forward that recognition rather than Joe fighting someone else that people don't know. I had a lot of people texting me yesterday. Even my dad texted me about that fight. He's not a big boxing fan. It's got people talking because it's two heavyweights who want to get it on with each other. And we're really excited about that. We don't want to give up opportunities like that. When you've got a hype for a fight and people want to do it, yeah, maybe it is a bit too early if it happened now. But then maybe it won't happen in the future if you don't do it now.
If it doesn't happen in July, what's the path for Joe that you foresee for the rest of this year?
I think May 18th will be more of a run out for Joe. I'd like to see him challenge for the European title in July. If it's not against Daniel, I'd like to see him fight Manuel Char. Although he wants a lot of money, I hear, to defend his title. And then I'd like him to fight an eliminator perhaps, or maybe someone like a Dillian White, a Luis Ortiz, an Adam Kaunaki, a real top level contender. I think Joe needs to do that to earn the right to get a title shot.
And although Eddie Hearn was a little bit disrespectful perhaps on social media, saying that Joe's not the right opponent for Anthony Joshua, is it kind of a blessing in disguise that you guys have now got more time to help build Joe up? Going in for your first world title shot at a short notice against Joshua isn't perhaps ideal anyway.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when Joe fights Joshua, I think Joe will win that fight. You know, you might think, oh, he's just saying that, he's his manager, he's crazy. I do think I will, and to your point, you want him in the best possible condition. You want him to have 10, 12, 14, 18 weeks notice of that fight. That's what you'd ideally want to have. However, some opportunities don't come along. Again, so that's why we want that fight on June the 1st. So, yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be... Would it be the 100% Joe Joyce going up against Joshua? No, it wouldn't be. But I still would like it to happen.
What would be the kind of upside of it? Is it kind of a nothing to lose situation?
Yeah, I think that Joe has a very realistic prospect of beating Anthony Joshua, and the elevation that would give him at that moment in his career is huge. If he loses, I think you can come back from that. I think you can come back from losing to Anthony Joshua. Yeah, and you can talk about why, and you've got to think about why he loses the fight. You know, when we look at fights and potential opponents, we always think, how does Joe lose the fight? If he fights Fury, I know how he loses the fight. If he fights Wilder, I know how he loses the fight. And sometimes you're thinking, well, it's all about risk reward. You know, what's the risk? If he loses the fight, is it something you can come back from?
And just the last question, I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering this. When are we going to see the return of the Adam Moralee that likes to stoke the crowds up and, you know, get under the skin of rival fans?
Well, that is a rare occurrence. But maybe if we have a Derek Chisora press conference with Adam Booth and me on one side and David and Dave Colwell on the other side, maybe that might be fun.
It'd be like a horrible family reunion type scenario, yeah.
For everyone involved.
Brilliant. Well, we thank you for your time. We wish you the best of luck in the latest chapter of the journey.